Hey YouTube, and thanks for watching Junk Works Garage. Well, today we got the 2011 Polaris Razor 800, and we are about to put a winch on it. So for those of you who didn't go watch my old versus new video, I actually got an older version of a 3,000 pound winch from my nephew. He sent it to me. But right before that I had bought the 2,500 winch. So I'm hoping the 3,000 pound will fit in here. I'm not positive. We'll have to see how things go. We might end up with the 2,500, but either way, I'm going to have one on the front and one on the back. Not sure if all that's going to be in this video. Right now we're focused on the front. Let's get to tearing this thing apart, because I know I can get up underneath here and do everything without removing this. But quite honestly, I want to see how hard it is to remove this. It doesn't appear like it's going to be all that difficult to move things. Not only will that make it easier to film, but easier for me to get my fat fingers in and do stuff and kind of get an idea of things. I got this slightly up on my lift here, so there's a couple of things up here that I'm hoping anyway should pull this off right here. If anybody can tell me what that is for, if it's a camera mount maybe? I wonder if that's a camera mount. Anyway, it's got a little mount here. I don't know if there's something I can buy to put in there that looks cool, or I can use it for something, tell me. If not, I'm going to take the heat gun to that and try and get that off of there. Regardless, leave a comment below if you know what that is. Right, and then down here, there's 4 Phillips head screws that pull this panel off of here. I'm not sure if you need to do that to get this off, but I know I need it out of my way for the winch, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, don't lose these screws. Not only might they work somewhere else, but you may want to put this back on and take the winch off if I ever sell it or something like that. Who knows? Probably not. The winch will probably just make it worth more money. So I'm going to take those. I'm just going to put them with that for now, which opens up the hole to where your winch needs to come out up in here. So you could technically go behind here and start doing the winch stuff, but quite honestly, like I said, I want to pull this off anyway. So he had these plugged in to some wires hanging down here, and then on top of this there's a little button you push right here. Push down on it and wiggle it and jiggle it, and it'll come out, hopefully. The other side came out fine. There we go. Boy, has a little bit more jiggling than I wanted. But anyhow, that just unplugged from there. So now we got these little clips. There's 2 clips here. And I really don't have a way of taking these clips off with anything in my kit. Like a special tool. I have the tool, but yet again, I'm trying to work with what's in my kit to make sure that if I'm out and I absolutely have to take something off or remove something or change something, that I have the tool on me to do it, or at least in my truck to do it. Now this handy Leatherman, I carry it every day, everywhere, no matter what. And these clips, you can come in here, pry out on those like that, and actually if you can get them to come all the way out, which I do have a pair of needle nose. I know some people have been able to use needle nose, and they make a special thing that has like a pair of needle nose that has like a little gripper in them for gripping these. But if you got a screwdriver and a pair of needle nose, which are both in my Leatherman, just pull these all the way out. That one came actually out. Then you get behind here and push out on this, and Bob's your uncle, so to speak. Now that is undone from there. It does appear that there is some sort of a clip or something that just kind of popped out too, so I'm going to do that on the other side, and then I believe anyway everything is unhooked to where we can just start unscrewing it off the front. Again, T27. I know this isn't on my kit, but this tip will fit in there, and this tip came out of my kit. Okay, so these are different sizes, so pay attention to where you pull them out of. And this one, which is even shorter than the last one. They are all different sizes. The longest one in the top, the next longest in the middle, and the shortest one on the bottom. For this side anyway. Unfortunately, this one looks like somebody way over tightened and jammed in here, so I'm hoping it comes out without breaking anything. Nope. Alright. So I'm going to take this one off wet. That's too bad. That one wasn't even in where it was supposed to be. And I think, yep, the lights are going to come with it, just so you know. Alright. Hopefully that just comes off. So, confession time. I was gonna build a whole thing here, and kind of got to doing some other things, and this thing's been shut down for quite a while, and I figured for the price that this thing cost, I might as well go ahead and grab it. So I ended up breaking down and just buying this Super Winch cover or plate here. It's probably not made to mount my specific winch to it, so I'm going to have to probably still do some modifications. But I figured this would get me further along, and I am ready to get this thing back on the road. This is actually the last thing I need to do. I ordered this. It didn't take that long. I will put a price in the screen. I actually bought it from Amazon instead of the Super Winch place, which they were $6.1 half a dozen, depending on where you bought it from. So, that's the route I went ahead and took. So we're going to open up this box, and I'm hoping what's inside will fit onto my platform with no problems and mount my winch with no problems, but I doubt there'll be no problems. So I went and I looked, and although they have some videos, they don't have any on anything this old of a rig. But I will say I went on their website where they sell these, and down below the product, and I will say also it looks similar to this, what they show that they sell for this rig, but the one that is in the picture doesn't have this little jet out here. It's just two L brackets. So now I got my glasses. If you go down below, when you look up your rig, and they show the L brackets and this little piece here. So below that, if you scroll down, it says installation instructions, and there is a winch instruction, and then it says WMPRZR instructions. If you tap on that WMPRER instruction one, that will take you to the printout of the instructions of how this goes on, and it actually shows the one that I ended up getting for this machine that has this little cutout here. So, and it's pretty good instructions. In fact, I probably would have put these on backwards had I not actually went and looked at the instructions, because I would have, I'll show you here, I would have probably put them on like this with the two cutouts with these parts here. Hopefully you can see that facing each other, but in all actuality I would have had it backwards. They go the opposite way. This goes on the right hand, or right hand side or passenger side in the US, and this goes on the left-hand side or driver's side. So anyway, and it shows you where all the little nuts and bolts and things, what part they go in and where they go to. So we're gonna go in here. Hopefully I can get a decent picture of it. In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and yank the tires off, even though you don't have to. I'm gonna do that so that I can not only fit in there better, but show you hopefully better. And the first thing you might notice is right here, you got your breather tube for the rear, or for the front end here, for the gearbox or diff or whatever they want to call it. And we're going to take that out from above. Now that is up in here. Hopefully you can see this right there going through. So we're going to take that out, and I'm just going to go ahead and pull that out and get it out of the way for now, because it's kind of obvious that something else is going to have to be done with this. It'll fit, but it'll need rerouted. So we are here on the passenger side or right hand side of the rig. Here's the first bracket we're going to be putting in, and this goes towards the front where this comes down here. This one is in the back. They already have Loctite in them. They already have the bolts welded to them, or nuts welded to them, I should say, which makes this pretty nice compared to a lot of them I've seen on video so far. So I'm going to try and put this in here, and you're going to want this to come straight side to side. So we're up here in the front. Yet again, there's already Loctite in here, and the nuts already welded in. And we're going to take, there's the two Allen headed ones, and both those go in the front here. And we're gonna kind of put that in loose. So now we're gonna go to the back part, and not only have they welded the nuts on the back or on this bracket already, but the instructions talk about washers, and there are no washers in the kit. They actually come with the bolts that have washers kind of built in basically, and we're gonna put that in there. And then there's a bracket right here. So in the back here, there's a bracket that's built into the frame, welded in the frame right here, right below where your coolant line goes down at here. And that bracket has a hole in the top up here, and we're just gonna take that, bring this down through the hole, and hopefully everything will line up and we can get this bracket just bolted on here. Yet again, I'm leaving everything loose for now, and I'm just kind of going by feel. I can't see anything right now. Alright, so I got this bracket in. It's loosely in there. Should move around just fine. We may need to move things around as we put the winch on it, so I don't want to tighten anything up completely. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the bracket on the other side. It's exactly the same as this side right here. So you might have noticed I put the back bolt in first. That actually was easier because I put the back bolt in second on the first one I showed you, and that was a little bit difficult to get this to move around just enough to get that in there. Much easier if you start with the back bolt, then finish with the front. Well, I've kind of fiddled with this 2,500 pound winch, and I've come to two things. I could get it in with some modifications. I think if I flip the brackets around and I was to use the bracket here, which would lift it up a little bit more, I think I could make this work if I modified and changed things around and all that kind of stuff. Now, although I can make it work, I just keep thinking about, okay, what do I got to do? How much more do I want to modify and mess with and not be able to ride this for another week because I'm trying to get it figured out? And I've also come to the conclusion that I probably want a bigger winch anyway, because I do think we are going to try and tow a little trailer behind this on some of our trips. And in that case, I'm going to want a winch that can pull both those things. So we're going to go grab the 3,500 pound, maybe 4,500 pound winch, depending on what we see when we get there. and I think it will fit in here better with these brackets. Here we go. Instead of going underboard, I went overboard. We got the Badlands ZXR 5000 winch now. So I went from small, and I couldn't figure quite out how to make it work, to hopefully not too big and unable to make it work. But we'll see. I'm hoping this all fits in there. I've seen a few people put 5,000 pound in razors, but yet again, it's hard to find anything that's the Razor 800 in this year. This is like 2000 to 2014 are very similar, and I haven't seen a lot of videos on those. So regardless, we're going to go ahead and unbox this and see what we end up with. I will say this one does not have a wireless remote, which kind of sucks, but it does have like an actual toggle dash switch instead of those handlebar ones now. Everybody talked about the handlebar ones and how they sucked. Well, this one actually just has a dash switch for you, and then you got your regular wired one that we got to wire up as well. But it does not have a wireless remote. But I do actually have an old Badlands, my bigger winch that I made. I got a wireless remote for that, so that might actually work with this one. We'll have to see one of these days. So we got everything here. I left the winch in here for now because it's heavy. It comes with your instructions, the red strap thing to put on the front of your hook. And it's got the same shako that came in the 2,500 pound one. So these little shakos are probably going to come with everything. We got that. It's got a bigger fair lead roller, which we'll have to see if it works with the Super ATV front end without modifications, hopefully. You got some of these boots that go over all the wire connections. Then quite a bit of wiring. I will say this is going to be a lot more involved wiring than the 2,500, which I actually kind of wired it up to this, so if you want to see that, I'll do a separate video on that, because there's no use in wasting that video, but there's no reason to put it in here. It'll just make for a longer video. And then you got your switch, toggle switch here that goes on your dash, all the wiring with that, as well as your wired remote that plugs in. So we're good to go here. It looks like everything. Oh, something that does come with this is actually a plate that comes with a mounting plate, which I don't believe we're going to need to use in here. I hope. We'll see. I've seen one other video and the guy ended up having to use that, but he had different mount plates than I did. So anyhow, we're going to start trying to shove this thing in here and see what happens again. So I'll meet you over on the other side. So we're going to shove this in here and see and hope we can get it in here first of all. And if we do, if it'll line up with the holes. Huh. I don't know, like I said, people have gotten these in here. Oh, but it barely fits. You definitely had to turn it sideways to get it in here. Alright. Now, this actually almost fits around this better than the other one. I will say this is longer in here, but it's not a ton bulkier comparatively. And I think, by the looks of it, this winch mount will work with these holes. So let's see here. We got the mounting hardware that came with it. I'm just going to do some residual mounting for now. Once I get it figured out and make sure everything works, I will be back. Alright, so I'm extremely happy. This actually fits in here almost better than the other one, because although we are kind of hitting on this, well, we're definitely hitting on this. The other one was kind of like pushing on the edge more. This is riding on here quite nicely. So because it is rubbing on here, I will have to get some of that plastic, tubing stuff or something just to make sure we don't rub through here. But it sits on here nicely. I can get to the wiring. I'm not worried about the suspension hitting. That's going to be something when I upgrade to the lift. That'll bring this out even more, so I'll have even more room in here. And here we are. I finally found something to put on this just so it hopefully doesn't rub. What it is, I got some of this right here. It's just for plumbing, for covering like your hot pipes to keep them warm or keep them from sweating on the floor and things like that in your basement. I don't know what the technical term is, but I'm going to cut a chunk of that, fairly decent sized. Cuts pretty easy. And then it splits open like this. We're hoping that that'll work. Now I thought about using like a bigger radiator hose or something like that, but it was like 25 bucks for a stinking radiator hose to go around this, and I don't even know if it's gonna work, if this is even gonna work, because it definitely needs to squish. So anyway, this was like $3 for the whole thing. It wasn't even $3. But this is what's gonna work now because I'm halfway there. Alright. So it is kind of hitting on the spring there. There we go. Now, that's not too bad. And yet again, once I put the lift on, the spring is gonna come out some more. Now I actually got some hose clamps for that, which I'm gonna put a couple on there, but I think that would probably ride the way it is without going anywhere. And for as a side note, it'll maybe kind of help with some of the heat. Probably not, but regardless, that seems like a fix for now. I don't know how long it's going to last, but I got like a 6 or 8 foot chunk of that, so I can do this several times before I run out of it if it does wear out quick. And it should hold up to the heat, I'm hoping. We shall see on that as well. Alright, I think that'll do the job just fine. I went ahead and screwed the bolts in here by hand. They all fit onto this mount. It's all working out way better than that other one. And it actually surprisingly fits in there better than I was thinking it would when I first started trying to get it in there. Definitely have to tip it on its side at an angle to try and get it in there, at least I did. So I'm going to lock these down, but because I'm a little worried about the fact that it only has blue Loctite in here, I'm going to go ahead and find myself a lock washer and put onto this as well, just for double safety and so we don't vibrate something loose. I don't know if I said it, this is an 8mm. I'll wait till I get that back one done before I finish this one off. So on the other side, I was able to take my 14mm and the ratchet and lock that down. On this side, because of all the coolant lines, I had to use my 6-inch extension and 14mm. Did I say 14? 14mm, and I can get back there and lock this one down as well. And I'm using Loctite for this. I didn't put any lock washer on it. This just whatever Loctite was in there still. And it had the big washer head on it already, which should help. And you're responsible for your torque specs. I'm going with tight. And then I'm going to go ahead and finish this off. I'm going to use a wrench to get it tighter if I can. That's probably tight enough and then some. Alright, I'm happy with that. Now this kit comes with 4, 5, 6 of these, which are kind of the longest bolts in the kit, and 2 of these, which are shorter ones. Now I will say I talked about I don't know if it made it in here or not, but I talked about not using the fasteners that came with the kit, but these are 8.8, which are just a step below grade 8. They're actually better than grade 5. So that I'm going to go ahead and use these. Whether or not they're telling the truth, we'll see. Hopefully we don't have any problems, but I haven't heard a lot of people changing out the hardware from these, and I haven't heard a lot of people saying there's problems. Now, if you know there's problems, or you know I should change these out instead of using them, please comment below. There's extra nuts and bolts and washers and lock washers and stuff for the plate, which we're not going to use for this situation. So I'm going to, in this case, and I would think you would if you were using the plate, but for this purpose anyway, I'm going to pull these out, and I'm going to put a washer and a lock washer. But on top of that, I have some of this orange thread locker stuff. Not a sponsor, but I like this stuff because it's supposed to be as strong as like the red, but removable. So, but I hate this bottle that they give you of it, because it always goobers way more than you want. You get more or not enough, one of the two. Alright, so I'm going to put a little bit of that on there and go ahead and stick it back up in there. And we're going to Loctite this down. And hopefully, with all the Loctite and all the lock washers, we will not have a problem. And you know what I did wrong? I want to put the lock washer on first in the way we're doing this, and then the washer. And then the Loctite. Alright, and then we'll button this up. I already got the other side. Got my 1/4 inch and a 13 millimeter or 1/2 inch. And yet again, I'm just going to go as tight as this will probably get me. With the lock washer and Loctite, we should be okay. Alright, so the winch is, for all intents and purposes, installed into this thing. I'm very happy so far, and I realized I did screw one thing up. Now I need to get in there and cut loose the wire. Might have been easier to do that when it was out, but so be it. Not too bad. Then we're going to reach through here, grab this. I'm going to put it so that it free spools here, I hope. And bring that out through here. Now it's time to button this up. But first, I'm going to hook this to this. And I did actually check, and the outer 2 holes match up nicely with that as well. So this really fits well with this kit from Super ATV. I'm very happy with how well it's fitting so far. We got our fair lead here. We got the sticker facing to the top. On this bracket, this bent piece is on the bottom, and then the slightly bent piece is on the top. The bigger part is on the top. Put the sticker on the top. Now these used to, I think, come with carriage bolts, but in my case there's no carriage bolts in the kit. And yet again, I probably have more washers and lock washers than you're going to have because I'm not using that other plate. But I'm going to go ahead and use a washer on the top here. Stick this through. And then I'm going to use another washer on the bottom. I'm going to throw some of this on there as well. Bottle. We're going to put some Loctite on there, then another lock washer and the nut, and crank that down. I'm going to do that on both sides. And that's done. Now we're going to go ahead and put this on. Now it's time to put the Fairlead on with its bracket. Now the Super ATV bracket comes with these nuts and bolts. These are a locking nut, so I'm just going to use those. I'm not going to worry about Loctiting them down. I think these will be alright. I'll keep an eye on it. And there's two holes up here right underneath the radiator on top of this bracket, and then the two holes, hopefully you can see these here. And those take the 4 nuts and bolts that are just kind of left over in the kit from whatever you haven't used yet. I'm going to shove that back in there and kind of get a better idea. I'm going to put these up here first, if I can get them in. This might have been easier to do before you do the winch in all actuality, except for I really didn't want to lock these down until I had the winch in there, so those would be very difficult to do otherwise. Let's see here. So that goes up there. Will this bend up there? If I do that, maybe. There we go. That might have done the trick. It's definitely under spring tension here, but I don't know if I can get these to line up here. And my fat fingers do not fit back here with this winch very well. There we go. Alright, so there's that and that. Alright, push down on that. So, it's a spring fit. If you can get these bolts in the bottom and force this top part up there, you can probably get these to go in. I'm going to bring this from this side. It seems easier to put the opposite one on the opposite side. You can kind of get in there. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and bring this out as well. Get it out of my way. And then the actual bottom bolt, I can't get the nut on without pushing the bolt out. Let's see if this will come out because it's jammed kind of in there right now. So I want to see if I can back it out. There we go. Now we're in here. You can see the winch cable up there, and you can see I'm going to put this bolt through the hole right there. Now you got to make sure you pull this out a little ways, because right here this bracket is in the way of the nut. If this is all the way in, you can't get the nut on there. So, but these seem to be, see this one here is absolutely stuck in there right now. This one's okay, so we'll get this one on, and then I'll have to fiddle with it and get this bolt out as well and do the same thing with this one. So as far as the top ones, those should be easier. So I was able to get this one out. I put the nut back there, and hopefully we can get this on. It's definitely the bracket being cinched is kind of making it want to go crossways, but I got it on there. So there's that one. Now this one we're definitely going to have to do some dangling here because it's not coming out. Alright. Yet again, I'm going to take and see if I can back it out just by pushing on it and screwing it out, which seems to be working. That should be enough, hopefully. I'll take the lock nut back here and that went on pretty easy. And then I got to get in there with an opening wrench because that same bracket is in my way, or cross piece, whatever it is, and a 13mm socket. Okay, so there's the two bottom ones. Now the top ones, if I can get my finger on top of it just to kind of hold it from coming up here. Get that nut on. So on this side, on the right hand one, actually it'd be the left hand one if you're sitting in the car. We'll say driver's side one. I'm really having trouble. It's hitting the bracket and I can't really turn the nut, and my fingers aren't long enough to turn the bolt. So I'm going to have to go through here and get in your way and kind of try and turn things however I need to turn them. So I got a box end wrench up in through here. I got the box end on the back nut here, and then I got a ratcheting wrench. Yet again, you may just have a regular wrench, but you can fit that through there. And because of that bracket, or the piece that's going across there, yet again, you got to use the open end of the wrench on these bottom ones. This is a 12 too. We got the winch bracket and the winch in. Everything with the winch is on, in, and tight. I'm going to call that a video because I can pretty much tell this is already going to take quite a while to do this video. So if you want to see the wiring and me putting everything else back together and see if it works, go to my Razor playlist on my channel, and the rest of this should be there fairly shortly if it's not there already. Along with, there's quite a few other videos on this rig, so go check them all out. Now get out there and get your junk working. Thanks for watching Junk Works Garage, where I'm proud to say I'm a jack of all and master of none. You all have a good one.